Hey Matt, I was doing some Wikipedia sleuthing the other day.
Okay,
I
that's one
got
way
to,
to put it.
yeah, so I got to one of those pages where it's like a category page,
Hmm.
and it was like category of like video games like developed in Norway. Okay. And so I
Right.
was like, huh, that's interesting. And so I started putting like different countries in like the URL to see if there was like some weird stuff going on. Like for
Hmm.
instance, video games developed in Greenland, that one doesn't exist.
Right.
But I did type in video games developed in Switzerland to see if there was anything notable. And the first Wikipedia page for that category is for a game called Catch the Sperm.
That's not like a wait. That sounds familiar. Is that like a Newgrounds game or something like that?
No. Catch the Sperm is a Swiss computer game recognized as an entertaining way for health professionals to promote prevention of HIV. Okay. Seems like a
Okay.
pretty noble cause, no? Uh,
I
so,
feel like I have played this game. Continue.
well, I mean, I don't get the impression it's a Newgrounds thing because it was developed by, sorry, it was published by the Federal Office of Public Health, the
Oh.
Swiss Federal Office of Public Health. So
Uh huh.
I don't think it was a Newgrounds game.
No, there was definitely a similar game that I remember playing where you control like a contraceptive pill,
Oh,
and you're like
dear
in front
lord.
of the uterus trying to catch the sperm.
I don't want to know any more about that, but I am going to tell you about Catch the Sperm.
Yeah, catch my sperm. Let's go.
D- Catch the Sperm is available in 7 versions. Catch the Sperm Style 1, which came out in 2001. Catch the Sperm Style 2, which came out in 2002. And then throughout 2003, we got 5 different versions: Duel, Carnival, Summer, Christmas, and Swiss Soccer.
Duel.
Yeah, there is no description for Duel. However, there is. I really
I can you
do.
can leave it up to the imagination,
Uh,
probably.
I do love this. The summer edition of Catch the Sperm is set in a sunny Caribbean ocean of light blue water, flowering underwater plants, and bright sunshine. The characters are a submarine, an orca, a swimmer, a water, and a diver sperm. This is not like this is not like the promotional material for the game. This is like the Wikipedia article, like the description of the game in Wikipedia. The
Okay.
Christmas edition of Catch the Sperm is a winter landscape over which the sperm characters fly rather than swim. As they travel through the frosty night, they pass illuminated and decorated Christmas trees, lit candles, bows, and icicles. The characters are a chocolate sperm that resembles milk chocolate, a
Uh
bearded
huh.
Santa Claus sperm wearing a red stocking hat with a white pom pom and a red flannel bodysuit. They could have just wrote dressed like Santa.
Dressed like Santa.
No, they describe it. And a cold sperm wearing a blue and green stocking cap and matching earmuffs. A white snowy sperm wearing a black top hat and a wrapped sperm that is decorated with a bright red bow.
For you kids out there who are not currently at the age of sexual
Stop!
maturity yet,
Stop listening now! Stop!
this is exactly what sex is really like.
This podcast is rated E for explicit,
Yeah.
specifically on Apple Podcasts for a
Yeah.
reason.
We're
This
gonna have to change the name of the podcast to Super Sex.
show is not for children. I do want to finish off this article here.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a section
yeah.
called
Finish it
Winning.
off, Tyler.
There's a section called Winning.
Uh huh.
Upon successfully completing a game, players are rewarded with a special congratulations screen before embarking on the next level of play. They can also visit an internet website, as opposed to the other kind of website, where players can post their scores if they are among the highest of all other players. The world's top 3 players of the week receive a Catch the Sperm mousepad, inside of which mock sperm swim in a liquid.
What?
Yeah, so somewhere out there, and this Wikipedia article
Ostensibly
reads
Switzerland.
yeah, this Wikipedia article reads as if this is currently still ongoing, and I couldn't find any evidence of that. That last line about the mousepad, there's no reference point on Wikipedia. However, what I'm reading here is that there are multiple Catch the Sperm mouse pads out there with mock sperm inside a liquid in them. And this was sponsored by the Swiss Department of Health.
Government, yeah.
Somebody in the Switzerland government. I get the vibe that they were on Newgrounds, and they wanted to
catch the sperm.
They wanted to figure out how to get their hobby and their work to combine. I understand. If you get a chance, watch some of these. There's some clips online of the game. They are not enjoyable. So have fun with that one. Let's do the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Super FX, the show where we talk about video games. I'm Kermit the Frog.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is episode number 19. Matt couldn't be here today because he was too... Sorry, he was in my chair, and I don't like it when anyone's in my chair. Sorry, Kermit. We'll get that looked at. Jackie, call the ambulance for Kermit.
Dear Lord, is he okay?
He's unresponsive, definitely, but that's my fault. You know, I stabbed him and everything. But
my Lord.
Yeah. Well, it's not. Kermit's not real, right?
I mean, is it animated? No. So I think therefore.
Yeah.
He's real, right? That's how that works, I think.
Welcome to another episode of Super FX, the show where I commit a felony. I'm Matt.
Is that Puppicide? Puppicide? Is that a thing?
It's Muppicide.
Muppicide. Yeah. It's a stronger sentence than regular murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt, it's been a while. Since
it has
we
been
last
3 weeks.
did one of these. We took a little sabbatical.
We did. I went to MAGFest, and you did not go to MAGFest.
Yeah. I would have loved to go, as I'm sure everybody is aware.
Oh, I know. I'm not upset with you. The circumstances were just not. They weren't optimal at all.
I mean, the likelihood of catching COVID seems to be pretty darn high, regardless of where I am in the world, be it a shopping mall or a festival floor. However, the consequences of catching COVID in terms of travel restriction would have left me in a very sticky situation if that were to have happened. So the risk of that happening was not worth it, to make that trip, sadly. So, here's hoping next year. I like to say hopefully things have settled down by now, but we all know that it's a crapshoot at this point. So we'll see.
But hopefully by this time next year, the virus will have attenuated to the point where, if it is still killing people, it is such a small percentage that it's lower than the normal flu, and we can start treating it like a normal virus, and we can start worrying about, people getting vaccinated and taking the antiviral pill if they want to, and as much as I would have liked for people to have gotten vaccinated, whether they wanted to or not, for the good of everybody, if the virus starts to attenuate to a point where it's less potent than your normal flu, it won't matter anymore because it won't be killing anybody, so no one's going to care.
Yeah. And I feel like,
is that going to happen in a year? Who knows? But I hope so. Because we've seen what could happen in the last 2 years, what could happen in just one more.
Yeah, who knows? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor, and I feel like a lot of folks are just like over the whole the discourse about it at this point.
That's the thing.
It's all we hear. It's all we talk about.
Humans get bored, man. It's all we're talking about. It's the only thing in the news. It's still stapled to the sides of buildings about masks and vaccines and stuff like that. And I'm just as tired of talking about it as everyone else is, despite the fact that I'm a proponent of putting your mask on and getting a vaccine and everything. I don't want to talk about it either. I'm tired of it.
So why don't we talk about video games?
Yeah, I'd like that.
For this, past few weeks, we typically start out with what you've been playing. I'm going to go first, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, please.
I have honestly been playing the same game that I've been playing for the past while, and that's Dicey Dungeons.
Yeah.
I'm still playing it, and I'm still actively playing it. Matthew, I think I have close to 50 hours in this game.
Wow. That could have been Legend of Dragoon this whole time.
Matthew, I know. Tell me about it. I am still feeling the crushing guilt of that.
Don't feel guilty. You're enjoying a game.
So here's the thing. I'm very surprised at myself and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'm very as surprised at myself for playing as much of this game as I am. But I do think that this is a very, very well designed game. And there's a variety of reasons. I was talking to some friends about this a couple nights ago. Essentially, if you've ever played any of Terry Kavanagh's other games, he does a very good job of kind of boiling games down to their most minuscule piece.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Super Hexagon, it's like you're a dot and you're dodging lines, essentially. It's all it is. But he manages to make it so addictive and so easily replayable. And I think VVVVV was like that as well. It's a platformer, but just kind of brought to it's the bare minimum of what platformers can be. And so he focuses so well on this core mechanic and just translating that into some engaging, addictive gameplay. So Dicey Dungeons was definitely the most kind of I guess in-depth and stylistic of his games, but it's still the roguelike in the purest form. And what I mean by that is in a roguelike, you'll typically get some degree of RNG, some degree of randomness and chance throughout your run.
Right.
He basically strips away whatever's hiding that. So, for instance, in a typical roguelike, you will have maybe monsters that have a varying degree of challenge, or maybe you'll find you'll get certain experience points in certain ways, or your hit points will vary in certain ways depending on certain things. In Dicey Dungeons, you are very, very, all of those stats are very visible to you. So you're always aware of them because it's dice, right? So you'll roll the dice and you have 1 to 6, right? And I struggled with it at first, but I've really kind of narrowed it down to why I enjoy this game so much. I used to be, when I was kind of first learning about game design, several years ago, I used to be really averse to playing games that relied on RNG, and I was always really frustrated by RNG. And so I would always boil it down to something like chess, where it's chess, there's no RNG involved at all, right? There's no chance. It's all skill, 100% skill.
Yeah.
So if you lose a chess match, that is 100% entirely on you, right?
Yeah, it's somebody's fault. Yeah.
Exactly. If you lose it, a game of let's say Go Fish as a cheap example, there is some degree of chance there where
there's a lot of degree of chance there.
You had shit card draw, and so therefore you lost. And even if you were the best player, took the best strategy possible, there's still chance you can lose, and that feels cheap, right? That feels shitty for when that happens. Dicey Dungeons does a very interesting thing, I thought, where I never, ever, ever once feel like I lost because I had shit rolls. And even though the game is the core game mechanic, it relies on dice roll.
It is RNG, yeah.
The whole game is RNG, and that's so visible to you that it's the game design is so masterful that I never feel cheated. Ever. I've never once, and I've had so many, hundreds and hundreds of runs now to this point, and many that I've lost. and it never feels like it's my fault.
Yeah.
And I'm at the stage of the game now where I'm in the real thick of like the hardest stages. I'm very close to finishing it, but I'm in a character called the Witch right now, and the Witch has a very specific play style, and it's kind of boiled down to the point where you pretty much have to be perfect. And if you don't play your dice and your cards, very literally, if you don't play them absolutely perfectly, you're probably going to lose. Like if there's even one mess up, right? Like you're probably going to lose. And so because of that, it never feels cheap. Like it always feels like, yeah, like the dice are random, but if I've set up my moveset and I've set up my weapons correctly, I should be able to handle any dice roll that is given to me. So regardless if my dice are a 1 through 6, right, I should be able to handle those dice rolls and be able to kind of balance each turn out to be productive, regardless of what roles I am given, right? And so because of that, like even if you lose, it feels like it's my fault. Like I feel like I lost because I messed up, and I love that, right? I've never ever played a game that like was so static about its RNG, like so transparent, I should say, about its RNG. But also like it never feels like I was cheated by the dice, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm so hooked on it. And I'm at a level right now where I just like have had the hardest time beating it. I've probably done like 15 runs with just losses every time. I've yet to beat it. But
you're still having a good time.
Oh, I'm still having so much fun, and I know that it's my fault every time, right? Like I know, like, and because of that, I'm getting better, right? Like I know that I'm looking back at the run, and I'm like, shit, like I know I could have done this differently, or I could have played this a different way, and that would have saved me from this scenario. And so because of that, like it always feels like my fault, and I feel like I'm getting better, like I'm getting closer each time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I'm still completely engaged by it.
It reminds me a lot of Oh, sorry. Continue. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think, I think that I'm getting to a point where I'm like kind of done with it. Like, I'm not frustrated, I guess, to the full extent, but it's kind of to the point where it's like I 100% know the game mechanic now, and I 100% know what the optimum strategy is for this character. So once I finish the game, I don't know if I would enjoy going back and replaying it. And I think there are some roguelikes where that wouldn't be the case, where like I would be able to beat the game, 100% whatever, and then come back in 6 months and still enjoy it. But I don't know if the challenge would be here for me at the state, the depth to the extent that I've played it, just because I've kind of mastered it to an extent. But that's yet to be seen. But I am ready to kind of wrap it up and move on to the next thing. I just got to get through these shit levels.
I feel you. It honestly, it reminds me a lot of in the last episode we touched a little bit on board games, and one of my favorite board games is Settlers of Catan. Have you played it?
Yeah, of course.
I think that has all of the makings of a great video game like adaptation. I wish that they would do that, but if you're familiar with the game, so like the only real randomness that comes to the main game, aside from setting up the game, but that doesn't ever really play into the gameplay. The only real random factor is when you roll the dice to decide who gets resources for the turn. But that's it. Everything else is done completely based on skill, where you have to know how to bargain, you have to know how to barter with people, you have to know what is necessary to build first and what steps to do it in. It's all decision based, and there isn't any randomness involved except, oh hey, these are the resources that are coming out this turn. But because every player has the option to trade, even if they don't get the resources they want on their turn, they still can by using their skill to get those resources from the other players. And that's the kind of game design where I think RNG plays an important role in the game, but it's still so minuscule that if you lose a game of Catan, it's not the roll of the die that determined that. It's because you suck.
Yeah, I think if you're relying on dice rolls for a game, I think you have to consider that there has to be other things that a player can do in a turn to kind of progress, right, or to be productive. If your game is designed in a way where 2 out of 6 die rolls are going to cause the player just to not be able to do something, right?
Yeah.
Then that's, you probably got to fix that. But dicey dungeons, like, that can happen, but if that happens, it's because you've messed up and you have not set yourself up for success, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta play that game.
It's good. I would say, like, go into it not, like, don't expect to 100% it, but after I put like a couple hours into it, I was like, okay, I gotta get through the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna want to get through the whole thing because that's the kind of gamer I am. But my first playthrough, it'll just be a casual run through.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like a really good, like, thought experiment into game design, because it's so like it doesn't try to hide it. Like, it's very. A lot of people kind of describe it as like baby's first entrance into roguelikes, and I could see that because it's just like so blatant with like how what's happening, right?
Yeah.
It's not hidden behind like monsters or spells or anything like that, so you can exactly see like where all the RNG is going. So it's very much like, if you have any interest in game design and like choice and like risk taking and that kind of thing in video games. Definitely give it a go. It's like, I paid like $2 or something on the eShop on Switch. It's been on PC for like a long time, so I'm sure you can find like a Steam sale for like dirt cheap. It's definitely
this
worth
is the third time that
few
you're talking
dollars
about
you'll pay
it.
for it. Dude,
This is
I
the
know,
third
and I
time
didn't
you're talking about it
expect.
on the podcasts.
I saw it on sale in the eShop, and it was just like a couple dollars, and I had heard of it, and I had never played it. I didn't know too much about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. It's a couple dollars, and then for some reason I actually booted it up. I kind of didn't expect that to happen, but I did, and then I got hooked. So
yeah, I was gonna say, because you have talked about it now 3 times, I feel like I have to try it.
it's good, dude. It's good.
Yeah, you're like, other than me talking about Pokemon for eons, I don't think you've ever mentioned the same game. Even really twice in the same same time period. But
it also, one last thing. It also you
please.
can use it with the Joy-Cons, like with control like buttons, but it's also completely touchscreen enabled as well. So you can play completely touchscreen if you want. Which I've actually been doing sometimes. Sometimes if I'm like, I don't know, like eating the sandwich or something, and I have like one free hand, I can like play the game entirely one-handed, which is amazing. I freaking love it. You remember in like some of the Pokemon games where you could like change L to be an A press?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
You can like move around with one hand and also hit A.
Yeah.
But there's like some things you can't do. This you can play entirely one-handed. So it's awesome for that. Anyway,
that's so
I want to hear
cool.
about what you are playing.
Yeah, so right now the main thing I'm playing, because I started it before MAGFest, because I wanted to, whenever I go to a con, I play a Picross game just because I don't want to get into anything super important. So I'm playing Picross S2 right now, which I don't want to talk about because it's just Picross. But the main thing that I put on the Google Doc in our show notes, my friend Nathaniel and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. We go back and forth showing each other adventure games, typically point-and-click adventures, because we both grew up with point-and-clicks, and that's where we have the most overlap in games that we've played and types of games we've played. Mm-hmm. And so we'll hop on Discord, usually one night a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks. It depends on our schedules. And one of us will play through the game, the other one has already played it, and they will just watch as the person playing gets through the game. And if we need to, like, we offer hints here and there, but for the most part, we just kind of go through it together. One person showing a game to another. Mm-hmm. And this time around, it is, honestly, it's one of the most fun things about our friendship. This time around, Nathaniel wanted me to play through the LucasArts adventure game, The Dig, which I had already known about, but I had never played it before. In saying the name of this game, a lot of people listening to this podcast who are familiar with LucasArts adventure games will probably still not be familiar with that game, because it is one of their lesser known titles. It is not very funny. It's more of a drama. It is kind of a survival type point and click, where it's not like survival as in you have to manage resources or anything like that, but the story is You're stranded on an alien planet and you have to escape.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing
game,
super funny.
I will say real quick, this game,
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I have always wanted to, but when I was a kid, I would always look at like the artwork from this game, and just be like in awe because it's so like atmospheric.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
All of the artwork for this game. There are some cutscenes in the game that are done in a hand-drawn cartoony style, and to be honest, they kind of take away from the experience. I really just prefer the pixel art because it is beautiful. The water is beautiful, the sky scenes are beautiful, all of the characters' animations are done really well. But it's such a shame that many people don't know about this because LucasArts is most well known for their like Scum Engine games like Maniac Mansion or Monkey Island, which are very humor first, plot second. And The Dig has humor, but it's plot first, humor second. And it's not really over the top in its humor. It's very subtle. There's mostly just puns here and there and the occasional characters jabbing at each other. But it's mostly straight up plot. There is a lot about this game that I wish that people knew about because it is a very, very well-designed adventure game. I think it's even more well-designed than some of the Monkey Island games. That's not to say that it's better to play than them. They're more fun because of their charm and their wit. But The Dig is a better designed puzzle game, I think.
That's interesting. If I remember correctly, this one was very much like focused on like writing, right? Like the narrative was like a big point. Like, I want to say like Steven Spielberg. Was involved. Yeah.
Yes, it was Steven Spielberg's idea. He was originally going to make it. I think if I remember correctly, he had a project. I think it was a show called Amazing Stories.
Yes.
And he was going to make the plot of The Dig one of the segments of his Amazing Stories show. And it never worked out. And so he approached LucasArts and said, well, you know what? I have this idea. What if you guys made it into a game? I feel like it would work as a video game. And so they did. Say what you want about his politics. I have my own opinions about the man. But Orson Scott Card is the person who wrote all of the dialogue for The Dig. And it really shows. If you ever read like Ender's Game or any of his other works, it really shows. The dialogue is very well written. I'm not a big fan of Orson Scott Card personally, but I have to admit that he writes a damn good story. And so The Dig's story and all of the dialogue and all of the character interaction is top notch. You really do get to appreciate and come to like/dislike all of the characters for the reasons the game wants you to.
Wow.
But yeah, it's incredibly fun. A lot of the puzzles are, they can be a little bit difficult to figure out, but I wouldn't really call them convoluted. Some of them are just, they require a lot more extra brain power. You would think to yourself, like, well, this doesn't really make sense to do it this way, but then when you do, and you see the result of what happens because you tried to do it that way, now all of a sudden, oh wait, no, that does make sense. Why didn't I think to do that? And there are also a lot of puzzles where the obvious answer is the correct answer, Occam's razor. And I appreciate that too, because it even lets people who maybe don't have the highest amount of like critical thinking with puzzle games, it still lets them access parts of the game.
Is it? Do you find that it like lives up, that it holds up, like because it's like 30 years old at this point.
Yeah, it came out in 95. I definitely think, like I said, it's a very well-designed game. And I really like almost everything about it. If I had to give it a rating, I would call it 8 out of 10. I really do think it holds up.
Yeah. The reason I ask...
It's going to fly under the radar.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I tried playing... So I played Monkey Island when I was a kid, and I tried playing it again, like, semi-recently, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I had a heck of a time kind of just like with the controls, and just everything felt like a little convoluted. Like it just felt dated. And like movement and that kind of thing. It's just like sometimes it didn't like kind of work the way I expected it to, or that
like the verb system and everything.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, did you feel any frustration with that, or are you playing it on like DOSBox or something?
So I played it through DOSBox, but it's actually also available on Good Old Games if anybody's interested in getting it. I think it's actually a free download, believe it or not. If you have a good
really?
old games, if you have a good old games account, it's one of the free downloads that they offer. But I played my copy through DOSBox, and this was one of the earliest LucasArts titles to abandon the verb system, which I really like the verb system in old Scum LucasArts games, where you click on the verb and then you click on the thing and you do that verb with that thing, because it makes the game very open. Like, oh yeah, I can open the door, but I can also like knock on the door, or I can close the door. There's different actions you can take with different objects. But in the Dig, it is one click, one action. Whenever you click on an object, the main character, Boston Lowe, he does the most sensible action that would relate to that object. So you click a door, the door opens. You click an object goes in your inventory.
Yeah.
You click a stationary item, you examine the item. You click a character, you talk to the character. So it's just one click, one action.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
It's very streamlined.
Yeah.
But it makes the game a little less open. It makes it a little more linear. And some people might not like that. I think it works fine, because for the most part, the reason you would want to play a game like The Dig is for the plot. Honestly, it's a very good plot. And the whole reason behind the game being made was because Steven Spielberg wanted to tell a story. So, of course you're going to play it for the plot. So who really cares if it's that linear? You still have to solve puzzles.
You would say that the gameplay really does lend itself to the narrative. Like it felt like they designed the gameplay to really kind of highlight the narrative, rather than maybe Monkey Island the gameplay is maybe a little bit more playful.
Absolutely.
Kind of aligning with the narrative, right?
Absolutely. I think that overall, the dialogue and the characters take center stage in The Dig, and the gameplay is just the means to propel you through the story.
Oh, dude, it looks awesome. Looking at pictures of it again just makes me like.
It really is fun. It's only about a little less than an 8-hour playthrough. It only took us about 7 hours and 40-something minutes, according to the timer that I had.
Yeah.
So, not terrible. And honestly, I feel like that kind of game is, while it is fun to play a point and click by yourself, it's also the kind of story that you would want to share with friends. I'm glad that I played it with Nathaniel. He had played it already, but we got to discuss it during the game. Because it's the kind of story that, it kind of opens a lot of philosophical questions. And maybe people don't play video games for that reason, but The Dig opens all of these weird and thought-provoking questions that it does that on purpose. It makes you want to think about what it means to be alive and what it means to be part of a species, or what it means to explore or be an archaeologist. There are aspects of power struggle and the relationship between command and minion. There's so much like commentary on human life as we know it, all because the characters are on an alien planet and everything there is foreign to them, and all they have ever known is Earth. And so they have to put all these pieces together. It really opens all these questions. It's very cool. And I think it's it's definitely worth playing. Excuse me. It's worth playing with someone else, because you get to have these discussions while you play the game. And that's kind of what the game was made for. It's supposed to tell a story. It's supposed to open discussion and stuff like that, you know?
That's awesome. Oh,
as far as the gameplay is concerned, and as a game, fantastic. Really well designed. 8 out of 10.
Damn. Every time we do this, like, I'm like,
you want to play
here's
what
another
I'm
one
playing,
for
and
the
I want
list.
to play what you're playing. Yeah. Yep,
brutal.
pretty much. But, hey, you know, I would totally, now that I've played it, I would totally sit with you and watch you play through it.
Yeah. Oh, that might be a good time, actually.
Yeah.
Before we get to the news, I was going to say the one other thing I've been playing is Lauren and I have been still working through It Takes Two.
I think you mentioned that last time too.
Yeah, we're still working through it. We're playing, an hour or two here and there. It's so good, dude. It gets better. From the last time I talked about it, I won't spend too much time on it, but the last time I talked about it, I thought it was great. It's even better.
Everybody else thought it was great too. It won Game of the Year.
I know, dude. It's merited. It is really, it's really good. You should definitely play that with Jackie. It's so good.
Yeah. Hey, Jay,
Yeah,
you want to play It Takes Two?
sure.
All right, we're in.
All right, there you go. Shall we go to the news?
Yeah, let's.
All right, gamer news with a Z in Canada. It has to have a Z in Canada, or it legally doesn't count.
If you're in the U.S., it's a Z, where it legally doesn't count.
Yeah, that's disgusting. We got some news this week.
Yeah.
Do we got a Tommy? Do we got Tommy updates?
So far, we still don't have anything real from our boy Tammy Tallarico, as far as I know.
Okay.
Usually my friend Chris is the one who updates me about that because he was psyched about the Amico, and then when all this bullshit with Tommy started happening, he quickly turned into an Amico detractor. And that just means all the hot goss comes straight from him.
All right.
And
Well,
he hasn't said anything new, and anything that I've looked up just to be sure. Tommy has still not come out and corrected his statement that we're gonna get the Amico by Christmas of this past year. So,
all right. So Tommy's working on a time machine.
yeah, I guess so.
So he'll be able to keep his promise.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust him 100%.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to next time's episode of what the hell's going on with Tommy.
Yeah, I look forward to the Amico appearing in my hands because there was a rift in time before Christmas of last year.
Dear Lord. We're going to have to do a backwards episode of this. So Sony had a press release this week that they're doing a new PSVR 2.
Yeah, PSVR 2.
And that's what it's called. It's called PSVR 2.
Yeah, it's called PSVR 2. Very interesting.
Did you ever try the first PSVR?
Yes, I've never owned the PSVR, but I had a lot of friends who did, and I'd go to their place and try it out. So I've played a little bit of Resident Evil 7 in VR and Tetris Effect.
Have you tried many of the other headsets, Oculus or the Vive?
The only other one that I've had the privilege of being able to try was the Oculus Rift, because my friend Joe has one, and I played, I think it's Robot Recall.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm
No,
pretty sure
I don't know
that's
what the hell that is.
Yeah. You're basically just you're a dude with two guns, and you're trying to destroy all of the malfunctioning robots in a post-apocalyptic future.
All right.
But it's very fun. I had a good time with it.
Do you have any excitement at all about PSVR 2?
Me as a gamer, yes, I do, because we're catapulting even further into the future, and we're going to see what PSVR 2 is capable of. But as a consumer, I'm not, only because I never really got to fully enjoy what it means to own PSVR 1.
Yeah. So I do have a PSVR, and I bought it on like a Boxing Day sale, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So I didn't pay very much on it. It was quite cheap, and I have used it a little bit. The best game so there are 3 good games on that thing that I've played. Maybe 4. One is Super Hot VR.
Oh yeah.
If you get a chance to play Super Hot VR, do it. It's super cool. It feels great.
Yeah.
One is what's the one with the lightsabers?
Beat Saber.
Beat Saber, yeah. That is
Yeah.
great. Again, feels great. And
I have played that without VR, but I imagine it's way cooler with.
Oh yeah, it's sick, dude. It's so sweet. The other one is Astrobot, like the VR demo kind of pack-in title.
Yeah.
Before they did the Playroom one, they had the VR one. That game is super cool. That really kind of is the game that made me excited about VR. I wasn't really excited about VR before that, and then I played that, and it's kind of like, wow, you can do things like there are certain things that they do in that game that you wouldn't have expected to do in VR. Because I think a lot of people I think that the title of VR, like the word VR, I think is really fucking it skews people's perception of what it is and what it can be, because you kind of it kind of suggests that you are a person in a different world, right? Like you are in a different reality.
Yes.
Whereas Astrobot kind of just uses it as a different I don't know how to describe it, like a different display, like a different viewing point, essentially.
Oh yeah.
which is like super cool, and it feels like more like you're kind of like playing with toys, rather than you're like a human in the post-apocalyptic, So that's super cool. I've also played Tetris Effect on it. I like Tetris Effect in it, but it doesn't really add much, I would say, personally for me, rather than just like playing it on a TV. It just, at that point, is a screen that's close to your eyes, I found. It doesn't really add too much. So Astrobot really kind of made me excited about it. PSVR 2, like, the specs are way better. The one thing about this press release that really kind of threw me for a loop, it says, there's a line that says, "Today we are also pleased to reveal that one of the biggest exclusive franchises on PlayStation will be coming to PSVR 2, Horizon Call of the Mountain. This original game is being built specifically for PSVR 2 and will open the doors for players to go deeper into the world of Horizon." This is confusing to me because I don't even know about confusing. It's just disappointing to me because what this tells me is that Sony went to like their biggest like internal dev and was like, "Hey, you guys are doing the new Horizon. It looks great. It's going to be great. We also want you to do this VR thing." And so now, instead of there being, I mean, I haven't played, like, I don't know what this game is going to be, but instead of the game development studio, creatively coming up with an idea of a new game and maybe an innovative way to utilize VR, I feel like this forces this studio into, this very much reads to me like, hey, we want our big title to also be on VR, right? Because we need to sell these VR things. And so now this developer is in this weird position where they have to navigate that and they have to figure out, okay, how can we put the world of Horizon and put Aloy into this VR thing? And I feel like it's going to be half-assed. It reminds me a lot of Link's crossbow training, where it's like, we have to have Link. You have to have the big AAA character in your new accessory, right? And so, and then you get a half-assed whatever game out of it. And nobody cares, right? And so I kind of just wish that they would put more focus into like, hey, maybe we have like this indie dev and they're doing like something really cool and never before seen with our VR headset, and it's going to handle in a different way that like you've never experienced before, and like we're going to showcase this tech, right? But I don't know. Instead, I just hate how they like, I don't know,
I feel like that's
for a loop, and
that's kind of like the norm today. Is that
it definitely
people
is,
are more focused on, developers especially are more focused on getting the hardware out there, and then like, we'll fuck the software, right?
Yeah, like we'll figure that out. We've got people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing that happened when the Wii U came out. It's happening now with the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, where the hardware is out, everyone's really fucking hyped for it, but what software really is there? You know? And it's kind of the same thing that's going to be happening with the PSVR 2, where we're going to have all of these lackluster titles and lackluster capabilities until something finally comes along and makes it worthwhile for people to get. Of course, there are still going to be people like me and you, who we bought a PS5 when it first came out, and we're still suffering, who will probably get PSVR 2 because of the novelty, because we're collectors, and we'll deal with it. But for the normal consumer, what is driving them to buy PSVR 2 if this is the kind of marketing tactic that is always present nowadays when a new piece of hardware comes out, where software is second, even though the entire point of the hardware is to use the software?
Yeah, I think the only thing that is maybe interesting about this is that I think VR is about to enter like a very strange kind of period of growth, because Facebook is coming out with
that whole
their metaverse stuff, right? And so I think that's gonna, I mean, who knows? But I think that's gonna launch VR into a little bit more of a mainstream light. And so to see how Sony and others kind of take that new kind of prevalence of VR in the world and kind of like, and use that as a marketing strategy, or use that to kind of grow the technology, I think that'll be interesting. But as it stands right now, like they're like, oh hey, the new VR is out, is better, like make me excited about it,
Yeah, it remains to be seen. I'm only excited because I know that there will be differences and there will be something to look forward to. But right now, it's just, hey, more VR. Yeah. And, that's all it's going to feel like for quite some time.
What I am excited about excited for more of is Kirby, and we got a new Kirby trailer.
Yes, game comes out in friggin' March. It's
Yeah.
right on our doorstep. I thought it was
Dude.
going to be way longer.
Dude, that fucking game is gonna come out before I play Metroid Dread.
What the fuck are you waiting for? Play Metroid Dread.
I'm trying to finish Dicey Dungeons.
But yeah, dude, that trailer was sick. It got me even more hyped than the first trailer we saw during the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Still no sight of our favorite fat penguin boy DDD, but I'm sure he's in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it has co-op, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting
that-
that either. But then again,
That's sick. Oh, dude,
kind of a
I'm so
Kirby
excited.
staple at this point.
Everything looks amazing about this game.
I know.
Yeah.
Honestly, the game could look like shit, and I would still be interested just because it's Kirby's first 3D main series platformer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so in. It's not even fucking funny.
The other piece of news I wanted to bring up this time is that a couple weeks ago, IGN came out with I don't really know why they came out with this, but the IGN came out with a best 100 games of all time list. I don't know
Yeah.
what prompted them to do it. I mean, maybe I didn't read the
Yeah,
intro to this thing.
So we talked about this when we were adding it to the show notes, and I noticed that it was published on the 31st of December. So somebody at IGN was like, we're going into a new year. We gotta list the best 100 games of all time.
So reading into it here, apparently
yeah.
they've had this list. It's a running list they've had for some time, and it last saw a major update back in 2019, which I have no recollection of happening. So we're just
Same.
going to treat this like it's a new list.
Yes.
According to IGN, the best video game of all time is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I am fine with that. I think that's valid.
I
don't know
think
about
that's
you.
totally fine. Well, I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. It's still not my favorite game. It's not even my favorite Zelda game, but it brought so many people into Zelda and really redefined what it means to be a Zelda game. And it gave way to a bigger outlet for Zelda. It made, because as much as we all love the traditional Zelda formula, Breath of the Wild expanded on it and changed what could be done to Zelda. It got, like, it took the, I guess I'll use the word tired. I still love it, but it got rid of the tired old formula. It took it and just twisted it around and gave it new life. And that made people who were kind of tired of old Zelda more interested in Zelda again. It brought people into the Switch in the first place. Breath of the Wild is like one of the main reasons why people were buying Switches.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
Like, I totally get it. I personally disagree, but I think that it's totally legitimate that they would put it as number one.
We could probably talk. I mean, it's an incredible game. We could talk at length. We could make a 2-hour podcast just talking about Breath of the Wild, which has been done by a lot of people. So we won't do that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
But I'm glad that you feel that it's like justified in that spot. I definitely do. That's definitely in my top few games. Personally,
It's up there.
what is there a different game that you would put there? Separating your favorite game.
Yes,
but perhaps
separating
maybe the best.
So, if I had to objectively pick one video game that is, quote, the best video game of all time, I would pick Super Mario Brothers.
Okay,
That
is on this list.
yeah.
I think.
It probably has to be. They feel
They have
obligated.
so yeah. Looking through there, they have World at number 2. They have Super Mario Brothers 3 at number 11, and then Super Mario Brothers 1 at number 21.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of like the top 10, and I'm seeing a lot of games that I'm like, okay, I definitely agree with that. And then I come to like, because number 4 is A Link to the Past, 3 is Portal 2. I love Portal 2, but I just don't know if I would consider it the third best game of all time. It's
Really?
a fantastic fucking game, but I kind of disagree with that. I would put Portal 2 further down the list. Super Metroid, and then 6 is Mass Effect 2. I have not played Mass Effect 2, so I can't speak on its validity as number 6 in this list. But I feel like, even not having played it, there are so many other games that are probably more deserving of number 6.
I don't know, dude. As an Edmontonian, I have to vouch for how good Mass Effect 2 is.
Okay, I'll have to play it. I have it, believe it or not. As with fucking all games I haven't played, I have it. I just haven't fucking played it yet.
I personally I agree with pretty much all of this. I love Portal 2. I think it is very much well within its right to be in the spot that it's in. The weird one to me, and I haven't played it, so I fucking shouldn't even comment on this at all. Disco Elysium is number 10.
Yeah, I've never played that either. I've never even fucking heard of it.
It's been on my list for a while. It's an indie-ish game that had came out a couple years ago. It's been on my list for a while. I really, really want to play it, and I haven't. But seeing that so high would just made me be like, oh man, I really gotta get to that.
Yeah, I have never played it. I think Half-Life 2 is deserving. I haven't played Red Dead 2, so I don't know. Super Mario 64 at number 7. I love Super Mario 64. I don't know if I would put it in the top 10. Maybe in the bottom 10, like from 11 to 20.
Yeah, they fucking have Tetris at 28, which is like absolute blasphemy if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it should be a little higher, at least a little bit higher. I agree with Symphony of the Night at 14. That's pretty good. But I want to go all the way down to the bottom of the list, Tyler, because when I was first looking at this list,
I know exactly what you're about to say.
Now, I just want everyone who is about to hear what I have to say about this list to understand that, there are a lot of people at IGN who maybe didn't grow up with these games, and so they don't understand just how truly important they were to the history of video games and to the fact that other video games are the way they are. That's why I put Super Mario Brothers at 1, because if not for Super Mario Brothers, video games may not exist. But
that doesn't make it the best.
No, it doesn't. But I guess I have
important.
I have a different criteria for what I would consider an objective good game. I also think it's fun to play. But number 98, and this is a list of 100 best games of all time. So real close to the fucking bottom is Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, okay. I know this is going to upset a lot of people that it's in this spot.
I like Final Fantasy VII. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy. It's not even my favorite JRPG. But I still do not think it deserves to be at the bottom of this list.
I think there's so many people who... I've heard the conversation of the best games of all time conversation so many times, And without fail, Final
Mario
Fantasy
Galaxy, Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VII. Those are the three I always hear.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII is always in the conversation, right? I don't think they're wrong.
Okay.
Granted, I don't
listen,
really
right? There's something like 21,000 unique video games in the world, right? So for Final Fantasy VII to be 98 out of 21,000, it's pretty high praise. But I would just expect it to be higher.
It's okay. That game has not aged well at all.
I agree.
I have not played the remaster, and I don't think they're considering the remake in here. The remake in here.
No,
I think they're considering the original one. It does not age well at all. I played it when I was a kid. I played probably about half or 3/4 of it, and I never finished it because I didn't like it. And I went back and played some more of it as an adult, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and I still did not like it, and so I once again did not finish it.
Okay.
So I have a hard time specifying if it's objectively good, because I really don't like it. I think the narrative is good, but I think it was. I think it was maybe ahead of its it was too ambitious for its time. And I don't think the PS1 was, and the way that a JRPG kind of works on PS1, it's just so fucking slow. And walking around is a nightmare because the perspectives are all janky because of the pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff. And so I just don't think it plays very well because of all those things, because it came out when it did. And I don't think that's a fault of the game per se, because it's not they were working with what they got. I just don't think it plays well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at
Yeah.
on that.
I don't know. Looking through this list, I feel like there are just a lot of games that, and forgive me, because there are some games on this list that I haven't played for one reason or another, and sometimes that reason is it doesn't seem like it's my kind of game. But there are a lot of games on this list that I've never heard fucking anybody praise, and yet it's sitting on a best 100 games of all time list, and I have to wonder. This is the conspiracy theorist in me. I have to wonder if some of these are chosen just because at the end it says read our full review. because fucking The Witness is on this list, and yes, I know that The Witness is a good game, but I have never ever seen The Witness praised to fucking high heaven. It's at number 59. No one fucking talks about this game. I've never heard a single soul be like, "Oh man, I loved The Witness. Such a good game." But it's here on this top 100 list. And there's a little blurb right at the end that says, "Read our review." And you can click it and read a review of the game that IGN wrote. And you'll notice that it's not for every game. There are some games on this list like Ms. Pac-Man, which is at 53, that they very obviously haven't written a review for because everyone knows Ms. Pac-Man. So of course it's on the list. But I have to wonder if there are some games on this list that are only on the list because they want people to read their reviews of them.
I mean, you're not wrong. I feel like IGN puts out it's a clickbait list, right?
Yeah.
The top 100 video games of all time, right? Of
they
course,
they put World of Warcraft 3 above Earthbound.
Earthbound's
I can understand why more people played World of Warcraft, and you can play World of Warcraft forever and never get bored of it if you're that kind of person. I disagree, but I don't know.
We could talk at length about this entire list. Maybe one day we will have a special episode where we try to come up with our. Well, we'll come up with our own.
We try to come up with our own 100.
List. Yeah. I don't think I've played enough games to make that list, but alas. Okay,
Dude,
we gotta move
have
along.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could totally do a video where we do a tier list of popular games.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we should do that. Okay, put it on the list.
Anyway, it's
on the back burner.
It's on the back burner.
The official Super FX back burner. It's on there.
But let's move on because as you said at the very beginning of this episode, after I killed Kermit. By the way, he's still bleeding, so I'm still waiting on that ambulance. Oh, I wonder, does he have insurance?
No, that ambulance is going to be like $5,000, isn't it?
Oh God, no! I hope he has Medicaid.
The old wee woo wagon.
Yeah, for our Canadian listeners, we have to pay money to live, and for our American listeners, shit's crazy. Am I right? Yeah, I went to MAGFest, and you did not go to MAGFest. We already discussed why, and as upset as I am about it, it's not your fault. I'm not mad at you or anything, of course. But it's never the same without you there.
Aww.
I still had a really I still had a fantastic time. It was me, Joe, and Jackie. We have been there before many times, but we had two newcomers, my friend Max, whom I've mentioned on this show before, and my friend Josh, who I think I've mentioned on the show once before. But it was their first mag, baby's first mag, and they were blown away by it, which made me like the proud dad who brings his kids fishing for the first time. And we had such a great time. I picked up so much good shit, but I definitely have stories too. Tyler, I shit myself at MAGFest.
What?
So, yeah, I will be.
Is this appropriate?
It's funny.
Okay.
So,
did we not have a conversation a while ago about when you're packing for a trip and you always bring an extra pair of underpants just in case, but then it never happens. So you're
Yep. And you know what?
It happened.
So they opened up a brand new restaurant at the bottom of the atrium, and it was called The Marketplace, and that was where we got most of our in-con food. And, it was just the standard. There's chicken tenders for like $10, highway robbery prices for a convention, but you do what you have to because you got to eat because you can't collect games from the deep underground. And to comply with COVID, necessities and stuff, they had a section of the restaurant corralled off where if you wanted to eat in the restaurant, you had to go specifically to that section and sit at a table, and then you could take your mask off and eat.
Right.
So they were very conscious, very safety forward, really happy about that. But there was one evening, in fact, it was Friday evening. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is MAGFest. So Friday evening, I'm sitting in the marketplace eating with Max and Jackie. And I don't even remember what I had. I think I had like soup or something. They had chicken noodle soup. It was really good. And I felt a fart coming on.
Oh, no.
And I am still in my 20s. I do not turn 30 for another like 23 days. Okay? Yeah, 23, 24 days. Something like that. February 9th. And so I'm like, I'm still young and spry. I can trust this fart, but there's a couple of people around, and I have a sneeze coming on too. So I'm gonna do the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna sneeze and fart at the same time, and
Matthew,
no one will hear it.
I want to throw up. I legitimately want to bomb right now.
So I think all of our listeners can imagine what happened next. I sneezed, and all of a sudden.
No, I don't even want to hear the detail. Can I just move the podcast along?
So I'll just skip to the part where I realized what had happened, and I shot up from my chair, and I told Jackie and Max, and luckily this was the first year that we were staying at the Gaylord, so I didn't have to go to a public restroom. We scurried up the elevator, and I locked myself in the fucking hotel room bathroom, and that extra pair of undies that we talked about, Tyler, came in handy. Round of applause for me.
No. Absolutely not.
So yeah.
I feel really bad. I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's
Matthew.
totally fine. Totally fine. But yeah. Other than that, there were some actually good things that happened at MAGFest. To start with, I got a fuck ton of games. And this coincides with my New Year's resolution of 2022. I don't know if I talked about this before. I don't think I did. But now's the best time to bring it up, I think.
Right.
Tyler, I have 3 New Year's resolutions for 2022.
Okay.
One of them is for my health. I'm going to start working out more. Whether that means going to the gym or not, doesn't matter. As long as I'm working out and trying to be actively healthy.
Okay.
So far,
right.
so far that's going okay. Whatever. Number 2, I want to work more on my personal projects. So stuff like the podcast, great. I'm definitely working toward that. But I want to get back into doing my music more and writing more and blogging more. Stuff that I used to enjoy growing up and that I have enjoyed, but have maybe fallen off a little bit because I'm getting older and I'm busy more often. I want to try to get back on the saddle.
Okay.
But number 3, the one that when I tell people, they're like, that's not a New Year's resolution. That's a fucking, drug habit. In 2022, I am going to collect at least one thing for my collection every single day.
Okay, I have a question.
Answer.
Do you have to do it every day, or could you buy 7 things at the end of the week and it would count 1 for each day?
Nope. If I buy anything on a given day, it only counts for that day, even if I buy multiple things.
That sounds like a crazy drug habit kind
Drug
of thing.
habit, yeah, there it is. The reason I'm doing this, there's actually 3 reasons I'm doing this. Main reason is this will catapult me into forcing myself to collect the cheap common games that I have overlooked for years because, they're always there, I can always get them whenever. And then I look at my collection, and I'm still missing so many commons because I'm focusing on heavy hitters. Because, again, commons, they're always going to be there. But this will force me to reevaluate how important commons are. Because if I'm collecting something every day by demand, I must. Then eventually there's going to come a point where oh shit, I have to buy something today and I only have $4. It has to be a common.
Next time on Super FX, we discuss Matthew's bankruptcy.
Honestly, it's going really well so far, because part of the rules are that it can be a digital game. It doesn't have to be a game. It can be an accessory or a console or a controller. It doesn't have to be purchased. It can be free. And it doesn't have to be purchased by me. It can be bought by someone else for me or given to me. So there are plenty of outlets for me to still collect and not go broke. But I am trying to buy physical games mostly. And
so are you gonna like? Is it a lot of like eBay $1, NBA 2K7 kind of thing?
yeah, we'll see. But for the most part, if I'm buying commons, I'm going to a store and actually like buying commons. So like on January 1st, immediately I went to Blast from the Past and I just bought like fucking 8 commons. I just got a bunch of NES commons, a couple Super Nintendo commons, nothing really worth mentioning. And then I went to Savers a couple of times and I bought like some Wii games here and there for super cheap. I bought a couple of Steam games for like pennies, and I got a couple of Android games because I needed a game and I didn't have any money. But then I went to MAGFest, and I was going to buy games at MAGFest anyway. But typically when I go to MAGFest, I don't buy anything the first day, and then I spend all of my money on Friday and Saturday, and then I have a little bit left over on Sunday, and then I'll do a little bit of cleanup here and there. But this forced me to buy something every day of MAGFest, so I just went fucking straight up wild. I brought a ton of money with me, and I also made a promise to myself that at this MAGFest, I wanted to get not really rares, I wanted to focus on commons and uncommons. So I did. I got a fuck ton of commons and uncommons. On the first day of MAG, I got Eco for PS2.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I got Breath of Fire 4 on PS1, which, despite the heavy price point of $150, it's not rare. It's just uncommon. Yeah. I got Looney Tunes B-Ball for Super Nintendo. That's really hard to find.
Yeah.
On day 2, I got Dark Cloud for PS2.
Oh, yeah. That's
which
classic.
Is very uncommon. I got Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, which is uncommon, despite the price tag of like $90.
Yeah.
I got the Ignition Factor on Super Nintendo. Do you know what that is?
No.
That is an incredibly uncommon Super Nintendo game where you play as a fireman trying to basically put out fires.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I know
building to building. It got a Japanese exclusive sequel called The Firemen, but we got the original game, the Ignition Factor, in North America.
Right.
It was made by Jaleco. It's one of the last games that they made for the Super Nintendo, and it's really, really good, but fucking no one knows about it because it's so uncommon.
Yeah.
But then we come to day 3 at MAG. I got the box and manual for Fester's Quest because it's one of my favorite NES games because I'm a loser. But I went heavy on day 3. I got Metal Slug X for PlayStation.
Nice.
I got Suikoden for PlayStation.
Nice. Wow.
I got Space Channel 5 on Dreamcast.
Oh, I want that so bad.
Which I'm surprised I didn't have that already. And I got Image Fight and Last Starfighter for NES, which are both incredibly uncommon and kind of expensive.
Yeah. Wow. So you had a good con.
Yeah, I did. The last day I didn't get anything too terribly amazing, but I got The Adventures of Dr. Franken on Super Nintendo, which is another uncommon. So I spent a lot of money getting uncommons at MAG just to try and fill in the gaps because I'm always focused on heavy hitters.
Yeah.
You know, then I picked up like a common here and there. I got Shin Megami Tensei 5 when we got back from MAG because I wanted that when it came out, but I was saving money for MAG, so I didn't get it. I got Madden 02 on N64. That's a common. I got Brain vs. Brain on Switch because fuck it, right? I got Super Smash TV. Jackie bought me Super Smash TV 2 nights ago for Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that's great.
And then just tonight I went to Blast from the Past with Jackie because Jackie's grandma, I spoke to her on the phone today because I called to thank her, but she gave me a card with $200 in it because, in her words, I forgot to give you a Christmas gift, so I wanted to give you a Christmas gift. And also, she was taking Spanish lessons from me for a short time, and then on a whim, she was like, "You know what? I'm too old to get any of this shit. I have to cancel, but I'm going to make it up to you. Here's another $100."
Oh, there you go.
So I got $200. I called, I thanked her, and she was like, "Get yourself something nice. Don't use it on bills. Get yourself something nice." So I went to Blast from the Past with Jackie
and
tonight.
you're like, can do.
Yeah, I was like, you know it. I already know what I'm going to buy. I bought Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo on
nice.
PlayStation. I got Blue Stinger on Dreamcast. I got Robo Trek on Super Nintendo, which is a big heavy hitter. That one's actually rare. And Battle of Olympus on NES, which is uncommon. But
You've been busy. Damn.
I really have. Once I decided, like, gotta get a game every day, you would be surprised at the things that I'm so excited to collect now. Because I was looking at that Madden 02 that I got. I bought that from VGTP. From the Trading Post. And I was like, oh shit, Madden 02, I don't have that one, and I need a game today. Hell yeah! And then we were driving home in the car, and I was like, I can't fucking believe I was excited to get Madden 02.
You will never play it. It will never happen.
No, the only time I'm ever going to touch it is when I need to put Madden 03 next to it. But that's when I realized, like, right there, I bought that on the 12th. I realized right there that this exercise has renewed my excitement for collecting commons. Because I have to get something. I'm like, oh, that's a common I don't have. Holy shit, I can get it. And it made me really happy. Because another one of the criteria for this exercise is I'm not allowed to buy doubles. Doubles don't count.
Shit. Yeah.
It has to be something new. You know, if it's like, for example, like if I had Super Mario All-Stars, right? And then I also bought Super Mario All-Stars on Wii, that counts because they're on different consoles. But I can't buy like another copy of Donkey Kong Jr. on NES because I already have it. But yeah.
But you could buy Donkey Kong Jr. Math.
I have that too. Don't need it.
Oh shit. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But yeah, that has been my collecting journey. More stories about MAGFest next time because I definitely want to get more into like what happened while we were there. But I want you to tell me what you've been picking up the last couple of weeks.
Dear Lord, nothing in even close comparison. I've been to I talked a little bit about the good thrift stores, and I've been to the good thrift stores a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. And I actually had a lot of stuff. The Goodwills do a thing. I don't know if they do it there. Do you have Goodwill? You have Goodwill.
Yeah, we have Goodwill.
Do they do a thing where it's like every week it's like a different colored tag is half off?
Yes, they do.
Okay, yeah. So they do that here too. And last time I went, the green tags were half off or whatever, and there was a ton of commons that were green tags. So I got like a bunch of NHL games that I didn't have for like $2 each, less than that, like $1 something each.
Nice.
And and then they also had in the showcase, as they call it, they had a black DS Lite, which I have like 3 DS Lites, but I didn't have the black one, and so the sticker said $15, and I was like, okay, that's not bad. And I picked it up, and inside there was a copy of Metroid Prime Hunters, which I didn't have, and obviously it's just the cart; it's not the whole, it's not complete. But that's a pretty valuable cart, and I had to do the thing where it was like a little awkward because I didn't want the employee to know that there was a cart like in there.
Expensive. Oh, and that too, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because it was just a DS Lite in a case that said $15, and so I picked it up and tried to like discreetly check what cartridge was inside without because I didn't want her to be like, oh, that's there too, that's separate, So I don't know. Call me a thief if you want, maybe, but this is what they had advertised.
No.
That's what I got.
I don't think that's like scummy at all. They priced it with the game in it. If they didn't know that there was a game in it, that's not your problem. That's their problem.
Yeah. I also picked up. They had a couple of like Ratchet and Clank on PS2 that I didn't have. Jak 3 on PS2. I didn't have that. So a couple like a little bit more common stuff, but I was actually surprised to see the stuff that I did see at the stores, because typically they've got just a bunch of garbage. I did have a weird interaction where I was browsing the games at one of the Goodwills, and this guy, like another customer, came up to me and like stood like quite close to me and like looked at the shelf, like glanced over it, and then looked at me and said, "Huh, nothing good this time, eh?" And then walked away. Like he didn't even wait for my response. And I was like, nope.
He's definitely like a soldier in the battle, trying to find games for cheap.
Yeah, but he hardly took a look at the shelf. Like I took probably a minute or two, like scanning through to see if there anything like piqued my interest. But he like glanced at it for maybe 5 seconds and was like, "Well, nope, see ya," and then walked away.
Wow, guys got better things to do, I guess.
Apparently, yeah. And so there's a Value Village that's like right down the road from that Goodwill that I went to next, and I was like half expecting to see him there as well, which did not happen. However, I did at that Value Village see the worst looking Xbox 360 I have ever seen, and I don't need any Xbox 360s because I have I think 4, but that one was the absolute worst condition I have ever seen. Like the disk drive, the silver part of the disk drive that ejects was not there, but the disk drive still was.
So like there wasn't a door on it. It was just the drive.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a door to begin with. It's just kind of a cap, silver chrome
it's like the
cap
little like
at the
silver
end of the
cap
disk drive.
on the end of it.
Yeah, no, that was non-existent, and the rest of it was just like in tatters. And I think they wanted like $25 or something for this, and I was like,
"Oh Jesus,
I'm gonna walk away."
Yeah.
That's what I got. I got a couple of like other commons. I got
that's something.
Assassin's Creed on PS3.
How is that?
Which I didn't have, but yeah.
How is that deal with your? What is that with your sister's boyfriend? Something like that.
Oh yeah, so I got a huge bundle. We haven't really settled up on it or anything yet. He just I think wanted to get rid of it. Maybe I'll outline that next time. All the stuff that's
there's
all
a
the
lot of stuff
that's in there.
We could talk about that next time, sure.
Yeah, it's there. There's some really cool stuff in there that I'm excited to talk about, but way too much stuff. I think there's probably like 100 things in there, so way too much stuff to get into this time.
Yeah, totally understandable.
And we're moving soon, so that's a bin that will have to be unboxed another day. Sadly.
Yeah, but oh god, we're like running really high on time. I just noticed.
Let's wrap this one up, shall we?
Please,
folks. That'll do it for this show. If you want to learn more about SuperFX, you can visit our website. It's superfxpodcast.com. You can find our show wherever you find all of your other favorite podcasts, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also follow us on social media, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. We are at SuperFX Podcast. Please reach out with any comments or questions on social media, or feel free to send us an email, hi@superfxpodcast.com. That's hi@superfxpodcast.com. If you're really into our show and you like what we're doing and you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/superfxpodcast. We would really, really love and appreciate you for that. If you're listening on YouTube, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment down below. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, help us out by rating and reviewing the show. As always, a special thank you to Kenny Martin for our theme song. You can find him at kenma, that's KENMA.bandcamp.com. And a special thank you to you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!